Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the fourth episode of Creating a New World. My name is Bill Hunsaker, and I'm your host. I'm the state chair for the 12 Visions Party in New Jersey. Let me introduce our panel. First of all, we have Jill Reed, 12 Visions Party National Chair. Hi, Jill.
Hi, it's my honor to be here.
And we also have Harry Dolgen, Treasurer of the 12 Visions Party of New Jersey. Hi, Harry.
Hi, Bill. Jill, it's a pleasure to have you on. I got to tell you.
Hi, Harry. Thank you for having me, both of you.
Thank you.
Okay, this show is about the 12 Visions world, a world of freedom, wealth, health, and peace. Author and entrepreneur Mark Hamilton thought about what a world without initiatory force would be like. He chose to write the result in the form of 12 visions. Here they are. Number 1, become the person you were meant to be. Number 2, live the life you were meant to live. Number 3, feel extraordinary. Number 4, stop aging. Number 5, get the job of your dreams. Number 6, start the company you always wanted. Number 7, embrace the lover of your fantasies. Number 8, diet down to the body you always envied. Number 9, become a genius. Number 10, surround yourself with geniuses. Number 11, ride a prosperity wave that will make you a millionaire. Number 12, enjoy nearly perfect physical and mental health. Sounds wonderful, doesn't it?
Sounds like the world I want to live in.
Unfortunately, it does not exist except as an idea. On this episode, we will continue to look at Vision 4. I'm sorry, Vision 3. Okay, I'll read first, just for fun. We're picking up again with Vision 3. Tomorrow, freed by a super civilization and its forces of neothink. The super civilization answers the ancient spiritual leaders and explains exactly where we are going, why we are going there, and how it will be when the forces of tomorrow's super society save us and lift us from the forces of nature. There is a way out of this suppressed civilization. In fact, we are the first generation with a way out ever since civilization veered off course between 2400 and 1600 years ago with the Plato-St. Augustine mutation of the bicameral mentality. The Plato-St. Augustine mutation of the bicameral mentality, as you will learn, took the new conscious mentality and infected it with a powerful mutation of the obsolete bicameral mentality dependent on external authorities as designed by nature, enslaving the conscious man to the forces of nature. The super society and its forces of neothink could not rise within the bicameral mentality or its powerful mutation trapping us in the anti-civilization. Although no individual can emotionally escape the forces of nature in today's anti-civilization, we can leap beyond nature by ruling upon the coming super society that will shrink the forces of nature to nothing. To nothing? Feeling lust for a beautiful woman, for instance, is an automatic and unstoppable urge, and it is also void of any values. It is based solely on instant gratification. It is so animalistic in nature, not human. When we ourselves feel our strings of nature being pulled and look eagerly at a beautiful woman, for instance, it seems only natural. But observe as a pretty woman sits alone at a cafe. You, as a third party, watch the men, one after the next, as they walk past her. Watch where their eyes go, where their minds go. Like they cannot really help it, but where is the value there? Where is the value structure that separates us from the other animals and makes us human? There is nothing human about our indiscriminate lust, but we cannot stop it. We may not act on that lust, but the forces of nature are always there pushing and pulling us. The forces of nature work to destroy our happy romantic relationships, and the forces of nature do not stop there. The forces of nature work to destroy our livelihoods, our platonic relationships, our freedom, and more. What's worse, we cannot stop those forces of nature within us. They are always there, working against us and society. But something beyond ourselves can overwhelm those forces of nature within us. The super society is the inevitable destiny of neothink, a new way of using the mind based on creating new knowledge through building puzzles of knowledge, adding one puzzle piece after another until a never-before-seen puzzle picture forms. The super society is bigger than any one person's mind. It is a growing puzzle that can be built by hundreds at first, then by thousands, millions, or the entire human race snapping in parts to the super puzzle. The super society gave us a glimpse of its power in the computer field, bringing us spectacular breakthroughs of knowledge, bigger than any single individual or at fantastic speeds. At the moment, the super society not only is bigger than our individual minds, but is bigger than the forces of nature within us that push us toward destruction. As individuals put in vital neothink puzzle pieces into the overall super puzzle, the neothink puzzles in the super society take our knowledge and power to levels unreachable before. We have seen glimpses of the super society during the Industrial Revolution, and even more so during the Computer Revolution and now during the Communications Revolution. However, those are only gentle tremors compared to the great technological revolution that will rock the world as neothink geniuses rise, a few at first, then thousands, then by the millions, to build the super puzzles that will eradicate disease, bring us immortality and great wealth. The capacity for the super society has existed since man leapt from the bicameral mind to human consciousness 3,000 years ago. But the Plato-St. Augustine mutation of the bicameral mentality infected human consciousness and prevented the super society, for we cannot have a super society built upon neothink super puzzles without neothink. The Plato-St. Augustine bicameral mutation prevented neothink for 2,400 years, as shown in as explained throughout the 12 visions. The technological revolution will drive the super society and will have breathtaking effects on civilization. Let us see how the super puzzles of the super technological progress will carry us right out of the clutches of the destructive forces of nature. Okay.
Wow.
That's a lot to
Powerful.
take in, I know, but
Yeah.
the main idea there is that everything is going to change for the better in ways that we can't even imagine. And we have an idea of it by the changes in the computer industry and also the changes in the Industrial Revolution 100 years before that. This is the world we heard about in science fiction, the world where, everything is amazing and better and just gets better all the time. Anyone have any additional comments about that?
Well, Bill, I'll speak up if you'd like me to.
Sure. Go right ahead.
Harry, if you're ready. Okay. We already see the glimpses of this advancing civilization daily. If you just look up for technology today, what's happening in the world around. Every day there are new breakthroughs from these geniuses. So, we're beyond the hundreds. We're past the thousands. I mean, I feel that we're approaching the million across the world. This doesn't just involve America. This is beyond. This is where, because of the communications and computer industries and that breakthrough of the internet, we have geniuses working worldwide in research and bringing us cures to diseases. I mean, for instance, just this week, here it is, October of 2014, the Nobel Prize in Medicine goes out to 3 people, a couple, neuroscientists, one couple married, and to a man from the U.S. who had left. And in the 70s, he came up with something regarding our own natural GPS. And then this couple also came up with a breakthrough. And so this will be helping with Alzheimer's, many things. But these geniuses, they're breaking through in all the industries, from medicine to flights, to space, to transportation, you name it. They're the ones who bring us the values, and they bring it to us through business. So I just wanted to make it really clear that we already see the signs of this, and when this book was written back in 1992, some 22 years ago, a lot of these things weren't here. But today, all we have to do is search technology today and look at what's been discovered. Thank you.
Jill, that's well said. I just wanted to say it's very powerful information that we were reading about. What got me, which Mark hit on very succinctly, was when you go into a restaurant or you go into a bar and there's a pretty woman sitting there, and just as a third party, watch men walk by. You see their minds looking at her. You can imagine what they're thinking. The lust is there. I mean, it's an incredible thing. I mean, I feel it a lot too. It's very stimulating. It's powerful. It's all encumbersome. And I'll tell you the truth. Hopefully, I read a lot about the forces of neothink, out stimulating the forces of nature. I'm hoping to get a point in my life when that will happen, because, like I said, I'm involved in a lot of TV watching, Jill and Bill. And I watch a lot of sports. It's very stimulating, and I'm still in bicameral mode. I'm doing better, but you know, I really need something to help me get out of watching the TV. You know, the football games and the tennis. I haven't found my Friday night essence yet, but you know, like I said, this forces of nature is really powerful.
You know.
Yeah.
Harry, that's a really good point you brought up. And I love your confession about it, how it does affect you,
Yep.
how it does stimulate you. Because it wasn't but just a few weeks ago that I called up my sister and said, oh my gosh, you know, when you're in a new town, when you're hanging out, and you go out to eat, you go somewhere because you want to get away for a little while and enjoy yourself. And it is amazing how the forces of nature work on us. You know, in one evening, I had one gentleman just talking to me, and another guy, he went away, we were just talking, he went away, and some other man talked to me, and before I knew it, this man literally laid the other guy out on the floor with a
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. I told my sister,
Wow.
it still works even when you're in your mid-50s. It's
Yep.
crazy.
Yep.
And yet, like you say, it's hard to overcome, partly because you men are protective of us ladies. And yet, we also can't help but turn your heads because you're also human.
Mm-hmm.
And it is when you find that Friday night essence, that ability to find something that makes you happy and brings values into your life and then into others' lives, feeling because you get great joy out of the values you're bringing in. But in our rut jobs today, we still are going to be pulled by those forces of nature.
Mm-hmm.
Very nice.
Very well said. Very well said. Oh, I hope you can help me down the road.
I'd be happy to help.
Okay.
Yeah, and for excuse me, Harry, for a slightly different perspective on this, you know, I've been thinking a lot about this, and when I see an attractive woman, you know, I have those thoughts in my mind, but more and more I find myself more interested in the person and less interested, although it doesn't go away completely, but less interested in the body and more interested in the person. I want to know who that person is, what they think about, what, how, what they know and what they want to learn, and all of those things. To me, for a long time I considered myself a feminist, which in a way, Jill, a feminist, especially a guy that's a feminist, is a protector of women. If you understand what I'm saying. In a lot of ways, it's you go out of your way, because there are still men out there who don't see women as persons, who only see the body and don't think about the mind, the mind within the body, and and that's why bad things happen, because those people still go around and treat women, as things instead of people, and it's horrible what happens. So for the longest time I considered myself a feminist, but I'm creating a new term, and I consider myself now an individualist, because I try to see the person first and then see the body second. I don't discount the body and get rid of it, because that's part of human interaction, but it shouldn't be the first thing. It shouldn't be the first thing you think about.
Yeah. It's
right, and I like that.
Yep.
I think I hear Harry.
No. I don't want to deceive myself. I'll be honest with you. First thing I notice is somebody's appearance, especially in a female, even in a male, if he's good looking or handsome, if the female's pretty. And then eventually, if that person has some kind of a mind and can talk and carry on a conversation, I'll notice that, and I'll kind of get rid of my animalistic lust feelings. But that goes on all the time, and it's just very hard to get rid of that. I mean, we're human, men are animals, men, that's how men are. So I don't know, Jill. Hopefully NeoThink will take care of all that when you get more and more integrated. I don't know. I'm still in the beginning stages.
I think we would be fooling ourselves to think that it will be gone completely right now. It's more of a this will happen as you have more and more things that stimulate your mind, rather than inactive things like watching football. When you become more active in your life and you take that role, you are less and less likely to be pulled by those forces of nature, and you are instead pulled by the forces of your own being, discovering. You see, we're naturally curious by nature. And how do we know this? Because when we were children, especially as a toddler in a crib, we literally would be laying there, and if we were curious about how we might feel different rolling over, we did it in order to be comforted. If we heard something on the other side of the room, we would roll over to see what we could hear. Eventually, we got out of that crib. Most kids ended up crawling out of that crib because their curious nature says, let me go find something that's beyond this room. Let me be with the other children that I hear, or my parents. So that curiosity, when it's pulled away from being on somebody else's nature, but instead you're focused on your own, that individualism that Bill Hunsaker spoke about, then you'll find it, Harry. And it could be that actually just building this 12 Visions Party, of which you're part of for the state of New Jersey, will give you so much of a thrill for life as you bring others into this new way of thinking. Super society. They want a new civilization where all of the people are experiencing wealth instead of this poverty dimension that we're part of today. So you may find once you build it enough that you get this big burning desire to go step into it instead of watching TV, seeing the cheerleaders on its games, all those things that are part of that. It can't help but pull on you, man. Those cheerleaders are always at the sidelines.
Yep.
Right,
the cameras are always showing them right? The cameras always show them. Yep.
Always.
Great.
And the other aspect of this for me has been over time I've learned more and more about value, real value, you know, and what values are, and realizing that only a person, a human consciousness, can create values. And as I've learned that, I've learned to value myself more, and as I value myself more, I value other people more.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Yeah.
So that's something important. We're all seeking acceptance, each one of us, and that's what I believe is really incredible about having the ability to communicate across the world with other countries. Is we're learning that we can accept someone in another country as easy as we can our next door neighbor if we so choose it. But we're all seeking acceptance. That's what we all need. And within this 12 Visions Party, we're accepting of anyone and anything because we are about individuals and not about groups.
Mm-hmm.
Two separate groups, yes. There's a ruling class of people that make all the rules and tell us how to live our lives and spend our paychecks. And then you have this non-ruling class who creates all these wonderful values that are taken from. So that acceptance, very good.
Very well said.
Yeah,
Very well said.
That's been really wonderful discussion, but I think we'll move on to the next section. Who would like to read the next section?
You want me to read? Joe,
Yes,
you don't want to read?
go right ahead.
Want me to
Go
read?
right ahead, Harry.
Okay. We're up to the way things will be, inner circle vision. Let us begin with the most basic biological drive, mating. Trapped by the forces of nature, a person may look at his or her spouse and secretly wonder, can I possibly go through my entire life having sex only with this one person? Boy, have I thought about that a lot. The forces of nature work and work and work and work on that person until under great anxiety, he or she weakens and has that one affair, usually with a less than ideal willing partner, which usually leads to havoc and turmoil. Now let's compare what the forces of nature get you compared to the forces of the super society. First, you have to free your mind to a whole different level to even begin to imagine the super society of neo-think geniuses. The best way to think about the super society is anything that is valuable, anything beneficial to man, will be done, often sooner than later, anything that is possible within the laws of science. That being said, people will, sooner than later through cloning and other technologies, be able to experience different body parts, even different bodies. Instead of going through the enormous upheaval for that one affair with a less than ideal partner, when corrupted by the forces of nature, spouses can happily enjoy stunningly beautiful bodies, their dream bodies, in the super society. They can even enjoy entirely different bodies, eventually, yet always stay with the person they love, in perfect harmony. However, most would discover in the 12 Visions world they prefer their spouse's original, yet perfected and enhanced bodies. Now, if they were to sleep with another, they would do so because of human reasons, for reasons based on psychological decisions, for changing to an improved value structure, and not for animal urges to screw another piece of ass. Instead of risking it all for a lousy lay, we will add excitement to our happy marriages by enjoying our fantasy bodies with our spouses. You can get an idea at this most fundamental biological level how the man-made forces of the super society will shrink the destructive forces of nature to nothing. Just in the area of romantic relationships, the forces of the super society will lift happy couples to trust, security, faithfulness, eternal love, and happiness.
Okay, we'll stop there, Harry.
Sorry? Wow.
That's fine. That's fine. Don't worry about it.
That's
We'll
very
stop
heavy.
there and
Very
talk
heavy.
about that.
A lot of information.
That's why I want to. That's why I want to stop there, and then we'll move on and read some more after we discuss that for a while.
So where you guys want to start off again?
We apologize. Harry was reading while you were out, and he read through page 63, where it ends at just in this area of romantic relationships, the forces of the super society will lift happy couples to trust, security, faithfulness, eternal love, and happiness. And to me, this is one of the wonderful aspects of the 12 Visions world, is that you will find true love, and if people decide to part and move on, it will be a mutual conscious decision, and it will, they will depart as friends and not as people that hate each other, and and there won't be any fighting, there won't be a big divorce trial and all that. It'll just be two people who make a mutual decision to move on, and and a loving decision, for each other. And that's, to me, that's a much better way, than in the world we live in now, where people fight each other and hate each other and cause all kinds of disruption in the lives of people around them.
Yep. I don't know, Jill, you were away when I was reading. There's a section there where it says, "Can I possibly go through my entire life having sex only with this one person?" So all you see is affairs and this and that. It's crazy. It's just people. It's so easy to get a divorce nowadays. I'm on my second marriage, so it makes so much sense, this forces of nature.
Right.
Yeah.
It also stems, Terry, not just the forces not happy in what we're doing.
Yeah.
Our psyche is not where it should be as a human being, and that puts us more ingrained and indoctrinated in our animalistic bicameral mindset. So our jobs today do not do minds like they could be. Instead, they're wearing jobs. So psychologically, you're hurt right then and there. And so what do you have to take home to your partner? Who wants to talk about in your life is stimulating? And then those forces of nature work on you, and you want to be
She's breaking up. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately,
so
Jill, you're breaking up.
Darn.
Don't worry about it. Just wanted you to be aware of it. So we only got about half of what you were talking about, but
maybe you should repeat it. Yeah, maybe try to keep talking.
Yep.
You're clear now.
All right. So what it comes down to is that the kind of work you're doing today doesn't stimulate your mind, and we human beings of using our mind in our work instead of just our physical body. When we use our minds, then we're naturally going to create something greater than what we do when we follow a routine at work. Created something of value and not just produced a value. You have more to share with your partner. You're excited, you're stimulated. And if the two of you are doing that, you have, because there's something, you each feel good, you have something to share with each other. You've been accepted at work, and you can accept each other for your goodness. We're going to either act as the animal part of ourselves and with our psychological side. And that psychological side needs stimulating. And we need to use our mind to create values instead of just producing someone else's value. Maintaining. Instead, we're capable of growing.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, we'll move on. We want to try to keep this show at about an hour, so if you want to read on from there, Jill, you can.
Okay, and
right after,
stop at the...
Just in this area. Jill. I think that's where you should.
They were the last words were.
You should start in the just in this area of romantic relationships.
No, no.
No.
Okay.
The next
A little
words
higher.
are the super society
Oh,
is beyond
okay.
anything humanity has known.
Okay, that's right. I read
Is
that.
that before or after that? Okay, so perceived, yes?
Maybe
What's
we'd
in the
be
next
better,
paragraph?
Jill, maybe we'd be better considering the the problems that you're
I'm
having.
breaking up.
Yeah, a little bit.
For one of us to read.
You read.
Yeah.
You keep reading.
Okay, I'll pick it up there. The super society is beyond anything humanity has known, so it is beyond anything we have ever perceived. You will intellectually understand the super society as you read the 12 visions, and you will emotionally experience the super society when you read Super Puzzle, which we will cover later in this series. For thinking purposes now, assume that in the super society, everyone will automatically live with enormous wealth. The best analogy in today's world would be the computer industry. During the rapid advancement of computer technology, prices fell to fractions, making the ordinary person rich at buying computer power. That dynamic will occur many times over in the super society, advancing through super puzzles of technology in every aspect of man's life, from medicine to education to marriage. Costs for just about everything will drop to fractions as we become rich at just about everything we buy. Now, assuming everyone is rich, what does that do to us in regards to our livelihoods? Well, it immediately breaks the force of nature to have our livelihood dictated by money prosperity. The physical, psychological, and emotional properties completely change in regards to our careers. Now rich and secure, we will search for and discover our Friday night essences, what we love to do. As explained in Vision 2, your livelihood will now bring you pride and happiness as you enthusiastically build your creations for the world. The forces of the super society in the area of business alone will lift people to exhilarating creation, pride, happiness, and success versus miserable stagnation, unhappiness, and camouflaged failure in the anti-civilization. The super society will fill people with love and compassion for their fellow man that great spiritual leaders like Lao Tzu, Buddha, and Jesus tried to harness. Remember, in the anti-civilization, trapped by the forces of nature, people inherently desire weakness in their fellow man in both love and in business, for the competitive survival pressures of nature dictate our emotions. But in the super society, spouses are secure and everyone is rich, and people are pursuing their Friday night essences with great love and enthusiasm, bringing wonderful values to the super society. Deep down, we will cheer them on, for their creations will bring irreplaceable values to us. Think about the feeling of love you would have for a doctor who saved your child's life, or who eradicated a disease that threatened you or a loved one. That is a close analogy of the love that will fill you toward your fellow man who is contributing major values to the super society. Again, the man-made forces of the super society will lift you from the destructive forces of nature and out of the anti-civilization. Toward your fellow man, you will feel love, compassion, and admiration. The forces of nature, always vying for attention, for survival advantages, push us toward egotism in the anti-civilization. But the forces of the super society supersede those forces of nature, getting attention, say through buying the biggest diamond or most expensive car or boat or home will no longer have any significance. Everyone will be rich. The ego-desperate drive for getting attention, which feels good temporarily but feels empty in the end, will be replaced with something much more permanent and fulfilling. Remember, in the super society, people will pursue what they love to do, their Friday night essences. By doing that, they will create important values for society, from which comes love and admiration from your fellow man, pride and happiness within. Those forces of the super society lift you to maturity, self-control, and modesty. As you will see in the first insight of Book 3, there will be no more political roles in the super society. No one will be looking to be led. There will be no need for an economic edge. The forces of the super society will lift us to freedom, productivity, creativity, and knowledge. In conclusion, the super society in which we will someday live will lift us out of the anti-civilization, from the destructive forces of nature to trust, security, faithfulness, eternal love, happiness, exhilaration, pride, success, compassion, admiration, maturity, self-control, modesty, freedom, productivity, creativity, and knowledge. Why are the forces of the super society so constructive to man, creating a super civilization? The reason is the super society can come only from man at a level not touched by nature, possible only through puzzle-building neothink. Soon we will head into the super society of extraordinary prosperity driven by neothink super puzzles of knowledge to which each person can snap into and build. We are headed into the super society because mankind has reached the jumping off point to neothink, and the 12 visions deliver the tools, and the vision climax delivers the system to replace the forces of nature with the forces of neothink.
Wow.
You touched on that a little, Jill, earlier when we were discussing, when you were discussing how the being creative will take you away from from what we were talking about, about people ending up cheating on each other and getting divorces in the world we live in now. And Mark talks about that very well in the section I just read. Any other comments on that?
He does cover it real well. There's not a lot to add to it. I think what it really comes down to is that all of these things are being created today. If we get away from that inactivity, passive inactivity that our parents did, instead of being part of nothingness, instead of just watching someone else be active, we will be part of things that make us active. Let's look at this next generation or two. I'm mid-50, so I have sons in their mid to late 20s. There are children below that. So I would say those next two generations, they are active. Even if it's just the games, the virtual games they play, they have to be stimulated. Their minds, if you think about it, the video games that they played from Super Mario on, and I'm using that, and I probably should not, but I use it as an example. They had to kind of guess at where that next step is going to be. Their minds were stimulated all the time. And your mind is not stimulated. You can hope that the football player passes it off to the left or whichever side of the field. But you're not active. You're watching someone else. So there are so many things that we have been using in the laughing, because anyone who
Breaking up.
Yes. Yeah, you're breaking up, Joe.
chooses to be part of this to be miracle right?
Jill?
There's stuff we want for me prosperity. In a movement such as this, every individual finding those qualities of happiness, love, and pride. So, and we get values for have a lot of geniuses out of us. You know, we want to love.
Okay, thank you, Jill. Harry, do you have any comments on that?
No, I know for me, it's just a matter of discovering my Friday night essence. Once I do that, then I feel I'll be able to start thinking about creating values rather than just being a value producer right now. So, you know, just stick with the information, take small baby steps, and listen to more experienced members of the Neothink Society like Joe Reed and Bill Hunsaker, and I'll learn.
Okay, do you want to read the next section, and then I'll read the final section, and then we'll wrap it up with a few more comments. Go ahead.
Okay. We're up to evil, evil everywhere, inner circle vision. To understand the enormous evil around the world, from school shootings to war, one only needs to realize we are trapped in an anti-civilization dominated by the forces of nature, which should have been obsoleted 2,000 to 3,000 years ago with our man-made leap into human consciousness. With teenage boys and world leaders, for example, still struggling to be the silverbacks, we will have school shootings and wars. In the super civilization, though, there will be no more misplaced forces of nature, as love and compassion will fill the world for good. Indeed, every evil event that occurs in our anti-civilization, from school shootings to war, can be explained as a conscious human beings being destructively driven to action by the forces of nature. Say, for example, for attention, dominance, leadership. In bicameral civilizations, such forces were necessary for advancing the species and society. Today, outside the system of nature, such actions destroy society. Our anti-civilization is filled with hatred. The coming super-civilization is filled with love. The pure love expressed in the first insight of Book 3. Wow, how powerful.
And we'll go ahead and finish it up. The culminating moment. During the first half of the 21st century, we will be leaving behind the anti-civilization where we are now trapped by the forces of nature. Aging and death are forces of nature. When man jumped past nature into human consciousness 3,000 years ago, we should have jumped past the forces of nature, including aging and death. But we did not. Why not? Before 3,000 years ago, our mentality was bicameral, a mentality designed by nature. Between 2,000 and 3,000 years ago, under enormous survival pressures, mankind jumped past nature into human consciousness, a mentality designed by man. At that point, mankind should have quite rapidly advanced, and in a few hundred years or less, advanced into the super society that is forming today. Then the super technologies would have quickly overpowered the forces of nature, such as eliminating human aging and death. The bicameral mentality was dependent on external authorities, which worked well within a system designed by nature. But external authorities destroy a system beyond nature. During the early times of human consciousness, 2,400 years ago, the Greek philosopher Plato developed a seductive philosophy that would preserve a world of external authorities. For many reasons, Plato's philosophy gradually infected the newly conscious world and became even more virulent with St. Augustine and the Church in 400 AD. The Plato-St. Augustine mutation of the bicameral mentality trapped us in a societal structure of external authorities meant for nature, not man. The result, 3,000 years after humanity shifted from the bicameral man to human consciousness, we are still aging and dying, but that is about to change, which we will witness in the years ahead as we travel to the other shore. The shore we are traveling to is the super civilization where we are freed from the spiral of death by the forces of neothink. The best understanding where we are coming from and where we are going, to best understand where we are coming from and where we are going, let us remember the forces of nature that trap us in the anti-civilization with its spiral of death stimulations. The super society will make you rich, romantic, and immortal.
You know, Phil, I think it's exciting that since this book was written, that, you know, reported by Time magazine last September, I believe it was, September or November, that there was a title right on the front, Google solved death. You know, this next generation has exhilaration for life, and they're wanting to live longer than those of us before them who had boring jobs, who were taught that we had a greater life after we died. These young people say, a greater life than this? All these things I've created, from the square to the technological breakthrough that will save someone's life. I mean, these young people are pulling together worldwide with the excitement of solving death. That is exciting, and for us to just embrace it, we will have more than our hearts will ever imagine. We will make all the people wealthy, including the poor, because politics will evolve with this great group of geniuses coming on board right now.
Thank you. Any other comments, Harry?
I just basically want to sit here and just listen to Joe. To tell you,
I love the 12 Visions Party.
That's part of my essence, Jill. You're right. I mean, that's part. I don't have a Friday night essence, but getting involved with the 12 Visions Party and the Neothink Society is part of my passion. You know, not a great passion, but, you know, I don't think it's temporary. I think it will be permanent, and I'll be doing it the rest of my life. That's all I can say.
Well, you know, Harry, by being involved
Yeah.
with the 12 Visions Party of New Jersey, you are creating a value where none existed before.
Mhm.
That is leaning towards the genius side.
Mhm.
You are bringing in the world of wealth, health, and peace.
Interesting.
Mark mentioned that for many people, building the 12 Visions Party and the Neothink Society, a new way of thinking, looking towards the future instead of the past of destruction, and building a brighter future could very well be your Friday night essence. And I would say, since you're doing this on a Friday night, it's very much a possibility that this is your Friday night essence.
Yeah, it's part of it. Anyway, it's part of it. Thanks. Well said.
Right.
Great.
Yeah, I agree
Thank
with
you,
you, Jill.
Bill.
Yep.
Thank you, Harry.
Mhm.
Thanks, Joe.
As we learn, you know, as we find our deepest motivational root and start doing what we really enjoy, we'll start to we'll want to keep on living and won't want to die, and that's what we'll be covering in Vision 4 next week. This point we're gonna move on. Next, we'll talk about how to create the 12 Visions world, but first we're going to play a little game I like to call Where's the Force? We'll mention some aspect of our world and challenge our panel members to tell us what initiatory force is involved. Today's topic is health insurance.
Ooh, that's an interesting one.
Yep.
Health insurance.
I think I'm going to let Harry go first and let Jill.
Yeah,
Jill
Jill,
goes
Jill will
second.
probably give a more
Yep.
detailed explanation.
So Harry, where's the force?
Well, of course, I hate to say it, but I am part of the Obama healthcare, because I haven't worked in 5 years, and I've been a caregiver for 5 years. So I qualified for Medicaid. Now, I haven't used it at all, because I'm a little guilty about using it. You know what I mean? Because I don't deserve it. But of course, it's put on us by an external authority, government. You know, that's it. That's my my only thoughts. I can get more
Okay.
into it, but then I'll start getting upset.
Yeah, we want to try to keep this kind of brief, Jill. So, just give your first
It
two
will
or
be
three
brief.
bullet
It will
points.
be
So,
very brief.
yep, go right
First
ahead.
off, I don't refer to it as Obamacare. I do not.
Mm-hmm.
I find that many people who use that terminology are being disrespectful of President Obama.
Mm-hmm.
I know Hillary Clinton's role in that they debated it in the House for 6 decades. That's 60 years. Our economy is so poor today that we have now reached that tipping point
Mm-hmm.
where it was something that the Congress felt they had to give to the people
Mm-hmm.
because of all the poverty that is caused by politics.
Mm-hmm.
You see, through business. And when business is governed by all these regulations, healthcare is a cost effective, and the doctors and the liver, the health, the insurance company, the government, and speculating things, and that's why prices go up. Say about it. It is that the cost of the
Okay, Jill, you did break up a
computer
little on that, so if I cover a little of the
has
ground that you already did, don't worry about it. Um,
proven
to me, the force
that
in healthcare insurance is the government regulation.
with the same increase.
The government regulation
The force
basically
is
tells us.
that Congress voted it in for us.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yep.
Congress. Yep.
Yep, and although we've been discussing, I can't even remember the official name for it, what people have been calling Obamacare, even health insurance in general, is, basically it's the government telling us what we can and cannot, do. Plus, it increases the cost of health care across the board by forcing doctors to prove that they're doing things right. In other words, it makes all doctors guilty until they prove themselves innocent. And the cost of proving themselves innocent, that they're not misusing. And part of the problem is that a lot of the money comes from the government. So that there we are. The government gives us the money and then tells us how we can spend it. And tells us, what we can and cannot do. So it tells employers what insurance they can provide to their employees. It tells doctors what they can and cannot do. I mean, basically, healthcare should really be between the patient and the doctor. We don't need the government getting in the middle and telling us what to do. It just makes everything cost more and makes everything worse. And that's the force, is that government is basically dictating what we can and cannot do. Okay, now we'll move on. I hate to make things a little bit rushed, but we did work a lot on the Vision 3. So I'm gonna make this brief. I've read most of this in previous episodes, so I'm going to keep it to a minimum. But anyway, the 12 Visions movement is a group of like-minded individuals with one goal: to create the 12 Visions world. This movement is being organized by the 12 Visions Party. Here is the purpose of the 12 Visions Party. The TVP has one purpose: to bring about an initiatory, force-free, protection-only, service-based government via the Prime Law Amendment and protection-only budget, forever ending the age-old power-based government and its virulent force-back rule of man, forever depoliticizing America and eventually the entire world, thus setting free the geniuses of society, launching the wealth of mankind as described in the TVP platform. And this will be the process by which this is done. The presidential election, which we covered in episode 1. The Great Replacement Program, which we covered in episode 2. And the Great Displacement Program, which we covered in episode 3. And I apologize, I misremembered, but what we're going to talk about now is the new governing dimension. The TVP President and Vice President, TVP Cabinet Heads, and TVP members of Congress shall oversee the transition into the new governing dimension of no initiatory force as described in the platform. The 12 Visions government operating under the prime laws shall leap from a destructive power basis to a productive service basis, from a destructive ruling class to a productive protection service as described in the platform. Basically, the idea here is that the government will go from a forced back system that forces people to pay for services that they may or may not want, to a business that provides the services that people want, and people will be able to to decide whether or not they want the services and whether or not they want to pay for them. And that's the basis of the 12 Visions world, where the government isn't there, forcing us to do everything and taking money from us and then forcing us to use whatever services it decides that we need. I hate to keep this section brief, but we are running late on time, so I'll just allow each of you to make some comments on that, and then we'll have to wrap up the show. I apologize. So go ahead, Joe. I know I shifted gears from you. This is a different part from what I said we were going to discuss before we started the show, but I'm sure you won't have any problem discussing this part either.
Well, the initiatory force-free government is much like when you go to purchase something online and you decide you want it, you opt in for something that's going to be of value in your life. Instead of being forced into participating in something you don't believe in or support, you won't be. You will be able to pick the services that you want. And that will be the difference. Initiatory force-free is simply that, not the first force in your life. And that first force with healthcare caused prices to go up and values will go down. That happens. So that's just one example of many. Geniuses cause us to have declining prices and rising values.
Thank you, Jill. Harry, any comments?
I just love to listen to Jill. No, the value that I get from the 12 Visions party, it's protecting me. I'm the largest minority, the individual. The prime law is protecting my individual rights and freedom. And that's what really turns me on about this whole 12 Visions party and the prime law. That's pretty much what I have to say.
Mm-hmm.
Well said.
Yep. The main problem with the government that we have now is that for a lot of the services that it's providing, it has a monopoly on those services, which means there can be no competition. And when you have a monopoly on something, basically you have high prices and low quality in whatever that monopoly is producing, because they don't have to worry about pleasing their customer. They don't have to worry about competition if they have a monopoly. Yeah.
Well, don't answer.
So I'm sorry, Jill, go ahead.
Don't have to answer to a budget because they can keep increasing our tax. We pay off of everything we do,
Mm-hmm.
from licensing ours to your taxes on your houses and groceries. And now they'll be able to do that through the healthcare. And again, the only ones who can bring us lower costs are the geniuses creatively competing for our business, and that's what we will see. Dropping prices everywhere, rising buying power, standard of living increases instead of going down for the past 100 years in America.
Thank you.
We'll live like millionaires.
Yes, we will.
Wealth, health, peace, including the poor.
Yep. Okay,
Get
we'll
rich
move
with
on.
politics.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay,
Yeah.
how you can help. The 12 Visions movement is growing across the country and the world, and more people are getting involved. Here are ways you can help. Tell your family, friends, and neighbors about the 12 Visions movement. And if you see 12 Visions candidates, vote for them. Support the 12 Visions movement by contributing money or volunteering to help, or becoming involved with organizing and planning by joining the 12 Visions Party in your state. Does anyone have any further comments on that?
Well, I would mention that you can choose to get involved by going to www.tvpnc.org, and we will filter through your name to your state if they are active, and if not, we'll contact you about helping bring the 12 Visions Party to your state, creating a value where nothing existed before.
Thank you, Jill. Okay, we're gonna wrap this up. I wanna thank Jill for coming on the show, and thank you for the value you've provided for us on the show.
That was great.
Also, thank you, Jill. And I also want to thank Carrie. I also want to thank Carrie Jolgen for coming on the show.
I loved it.
Yep.
I loved it. Thank you, Jill. You did great. Thank you.
And so did you. It was nice to be here.
I loved it. I loved it. It was great. Thanks, Bill.
And I also want to thank everyone who watches this recording, and we value if you have any questions, send them to me at whunsicker@gmail.com. Also comments, I greatly value your feedback, and we'll read every email. And also, you can support this show by telling your family and friends about it. If you haven't seen the previous episodes, you can go to the site to createnewworld.blogspot.com and see them there. I wish everyone wealth, health, peace, love, and freedom. Okay.